Hey everyone, welcome back to Great Northwest Weaponry. This is Thomas, and today we are taking a look at the Walther PP, or Polizei Pistole. I'm really excited about this thing. I've wanted one of these for a long time, and it finally came to be. This is another piece I picked up off my friends at the War Front, and quick look, you can see it's got the Dirty Bird, the Waffen Up, got a couple of them, a little trio of them, I guess. Best I can figure, this gun is probably from around 1942 or 1943. But before we accidentally devolve into talking too much about the history here, let's head on into the gun room. Walther PP, everybody. This is a awesome gun. I've wanted one of these for a really long time. As you are probably aware at this point, I am very fond of my World War I and II 32s, particularly the 32 ACP or 7.65 Browning or 32 automatic or whatever you want to call it. It goes by many names, but 32 ACP. A lot of cool guns were made in this caliber. This being one that's been pretty high on my list for quite a while. This and its slightly younger brother, the PPK. Speaking of age and one being younger than the other, the PP was introduced in 1929. And it was only like a few months later that the PPK was introduced. And if we ever get a PPK or just have the availability of one to even do a tabletop demo of, we'll get more into that gun at that time. For now, we're going to be pretty much focusing on the PP. But the history of the gun's manufacture is really wild and varied. You'll find all kinds of variants of these guns, ranging from Weimar police marked examples from 1929 through Waffen examples like this one that, to the best of my understanding, is probably from 1942 or 43. I might be able to find an exact date before releasing this video, because my friends at the War Front, where I picked this up from, have some resource books that I may be able to very finely pinpoint when this gun was made. So if we do that, we'll be posting it right over here, or over here, or wherever it actually lines up. With the way the camera is facing me, I don't actually know. But anyway, so until 1945, with the fall of Germany, these were manufactured by Walther. And then at the close of World War II, Germany was no longer allowed to manufacture weapons of war, or really any kind of weapon within their borders. So Walther would contract the French company Manhurin, or Manurin, or however in the world the French would say that word. I do not pretend to speak French. It's a very difficult language to read, write, understand in really any capacity. Beautiful language, don't get me wrong, but I cannot read any of it worth a crap. But they would make this gun until 1968, with, I believe it was the passing of the Gun Control Act. And at that point, there would be some more finagling with who was going to make it. But what I know for sure is, by the time you get into the reunification of Germany, these would start being pumped out by the Walther factory now in Ulm, because the previous factory had been destroyed. And they pump them out to this day in one form or another. Sometimes it's an anniversary model or just old surplus that's imported. So they've went through a lot of lives. A lot of companies have made these. Like I say, the French made them. Smith & Wesson got their hands on them at one point and manufactured them. I don't remember the date specifically on that, but a couple companies in America did actually manufacture Walther PP and PPK pistols. So yeah, it's fascinating. The guns, just like I say, they have a really long history, a lot of really cool features, a lot of which the mechanical features we'll get more into when we go to do the final shooting segment. But just a couple of things. This was the first successful double action semi-automatic pistol. So this has a double action function, and now your double action. I'm not going to dry fire this, but put that back on safe. So it was very innovative for the time, and it just incorporated design features that really had not been seen, at least not successfully, up to this point. It was very advanced, especially for a gun that, you know, seeing the height of its popularity in the 30s and 40s, but was introduced in the late 20s. It was very ahead of its time. And like I said, with it being Walther PP, meaning Polizei Pistole, which we've probably said a few times up to this point. The target audience, or target, I guess, demographic for this gun was police, and that is where it would see most of its service through both the Weimar era and Nazi Germany. But the gun wouldn't be confined to that, because you'd also see these with the Luftwaffe, and throughout World War II, Nazi officers and or SS were very commonly seen with these. So kind of some grim implications of that, honestly, but it just goes to show this gun has probably seen some crap. It's probably been around the block a few times, and I would even say just some of the like chatter marks on the side here would maybe speak to something violent happening with this gun. It's impossible to know for sure, but it's a fascinating piece. I'm excited to learn exactly when it was made. I'm sure I'll be able to learn that. There's just a lot of coolness here. It's a finely made piece of weaponry. Let's go ahead and go to the tabletop view and take a look at how to disassemble this thing and the markings. So for this particular variant of the Walther PP, markings are pretty straightforward to understand. You've got a Waffenamt, or the eagle clutching a swastika here, and a couple of Waffen proof stamps, one on the slide and one on the frame. And then you've got your Walther banner and all this German patent information, Waffenfabrik Walther Zella Mulis, looks like a THU with an umlaut UC, maybe, or an R. There's a bit of a ding there, so that could just as well be a C as it could be an R. Model PP, so Polizei Pistole, Walther's patent, caliber 7.65 millimeter, meaning 32 automatic. So stuff's all usually pretty plain. Still got the red for the safety, so red is fire, covered is safe. And then, you know, serial numbers match. And I mentioned this I called it like chatter marks on the side here. It almost looks like this skidded across concrete at one point, which kind of makes me think maybe there was a shootout in the street or something, and the unfortunate that was carrying this probably dropped it fairly aggressively on the ground. So now let's go ahead and look at disassembly. To actually take the gun apart, you don't have to take the magazine out, but to put it back together, you do. So I'm going to set that aside. Taking it apart is kind of, it's not hard to understand. It's just a little bit tricky to actually do in practice. So see how the trigger guard just pulls straight out? That is what is locking your slide in place. So you're going to pull that out, and you can hold on to that. I kind of tend to like monkey grip this and then hold on to that. So pull and grab. And you can also just put something between here, but you pull back, and as you pull back, you rock it backward a bit. So I'm gonna try and quickly put it back together, and we'll go closer over how to put it back together after I show you this again, because it's all kind of has to be done in one fluid motion. So back, up, out. So now that's done, you can let this fall if you want to take apart any of the deeper internals, of which we don't really get super deep into it, but the your guide spring can come off of the barrel. The barrel is attached on both the PP and PPK. You want to put the spring back on the same way that it came off. Put it on this way, your gun's not going to come back apart properly. So, or go back together properly. So, put that back on how you found it. Take your slide, insert the spring. You can get back to about there and just kind of let it rest. Pull this back out. Pull until you feel it slip back in. So, again, it kind of has to be done in one fluid motion. When you're going, as soon as it drops, you got to let it go in. So, Having trouble doing it as I'm saying it. There we go. It's not that hard. You just kind of got to just do it. Almost always takes me more than one try to put the slide back on. I don't know why. I haven't done it much, so maybe it's just that I suck. But anyway, awesome piece. Let's go ahead and take this out for the last shots and show you loading and firing the thing. So this is a really fascinating piece, guys. Loading it is very standard fare. So you got your 8-round mag, just goes in the slot. And ejection on this is not your standard European style. This is actually your button release, which is nice. This gun has got a couple of pretty advanced features for its time. So you load it, you want to slingshot this pretty hard, and you can see that's a 1 in the chamber indicator right there. So this is now loaded. I've noticed the 1 in the chamber loader indicator on this is kind of loose, so sometimes it'll give a false positive. It'll just look like there's 1 in the chamber, but it's not actually loaded. This gun also has a decocker for the safety. So now it is safe and decocked. Let's see if the safety on this actually works. I haven't tested this yet. Safety works. And yeah, the trigger is dead. So you can see now when I deactivate the safety, the trigger is now ready for double action fire. So the first will be double action, and then the rest will be single action, like with any modern double action pistol. This, like I say, this is very advanced design for, you know, late 1930s and early 1940s. So let's go ahead and put this last mag through it. We're gonna go ahead and shoot one-handed like they originally trained to. Oh, and it locks open nice on empty. It locks on the mag, so there's no real way to drop the slide when it locks unless you drop the magazine. Now you just slingshot it and it's ready to go back to firing. So yeah, this thing, this is maybe the nicest working 32 in my entire collection at this point. I'd say it's between this and the Femeru. If you haven't seen that video, I've already made a demo of the Femeru pistol model 1937. So yeah, speaking of which, that is probably going to be a video that down the road we'll be doing a versus with this, because that was kind of made intentionally for the Luftwaffe. The Luftwaffe also was pretty fond of these. So the Luftwaffe, as well as like SS officers and such, it could have either been in like the least violent group, which was the Luftwaffe, and I say least violent in a like strictly like this is still the German army of World War II that we're talking about, but the Luftwaffe was not really known for committing war crimes, or the polar opposite, the SS, which basically, you know, seemed to have the life goal of racking up as many war crimes as humanly possible. So yeah, shame on them. But man, this is just, I'm really happy about this gun, guys. I'm excited to bring it out and do some more shooting with it. This is actually the first day that I've ever had this thing out. As you're probably aware from a couple of my recent videos, finding a place for us to shoot has been really difficult because of the fires in Oregon. But we found a place, and so we're going to be pumping out content for you back on the regular schedule as much as possible. Meantime, I hope you all enjoyed this video. It's been Thomas of Great Northwest Weaponry, and I'll see you next time.